Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ben Griffin podcast. Today, I'm joined by Nate, and in this podcast, we talk a little bit about social media platforms, specifically VSCO and their VSCO girls, Twitter and Instagram. What's the trend? What's the future for them? We also have a little bit of a conversation about individualism online, like following the trends, who is the real you online, Finstas, and much more. All this leading to a conversation on faith, cults, and close deaths. That and a whole lot more. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Nate, welcome to the show, my man.
Hello, how are you?
I know it's like most times people come in and I do the mic test with people that are like kind of mingling. This time it's like we're straight into the action. So
I love
I'm
it. That's how it should be. No, let's do it.
But I guess we should just introduce yourself a little bit. Who are you? You know, like, well, of course your name's Nate, but what's your major?
Yeah, so my name's Nate, obviously. So right now I'm majoring in communications with a minor in philosophy. Communications is so broad. I'm kind of taking the more rhetorical route, rhetorical criticism, things like that. Hopefully the goal, the dream is right now, I want to teach. I came on as an elementary ed major.
You're kidding.
So, yeah, right? I know.
Dude, that was mine.
Dude, really? No way. What are you now? What are you right now?
I'm a comm major.
Nice.
But I transferred in, before I came here, I was at a school called UW Superior, and I transferred in to be a kindergarten teacher.
No way.
I was working with kindergarten kids at Superior, and when I transferred, I was a double major in comm and business law, and I dropped the law part and just went comm, and that's all I can do now.
All over the place. Attaboy.
Oh God, dude, it was hard.
I've I have so much respect for teachers of anything, right?
Yeah.
But as I kind of looked at the elementary ed major, I was just kind of that's not really where I want to take it. So as I've kind of really fallen in love and become passionate about this discipline of comm and rhetorical studies, I was like, maybe I could do something with that. So the goal is right now I want to go to grad school, get a PhD, and teach somewhere, be a prof, do some scholarship. I think that'd be really cool.
That would be.
But we'll see. I was talking to my advisor, and she was like, yeah, when I was coming out of the program, there were 7 jobs for hundreds of people. So you get another right people, do the right things, get the good grades. So it's oh God, holy shit. But no, that's the goal. But I'm just doing what I want right now. I'm just learning shit. That's why I'm here. So
this is when I was at UWS. I never touched the philosophy department.
Yeah.
What was it about that you were like, yeah, I'm gonna try that? Do you just like the deep thoughts, or because I went to philosophy with popcorn for an hour and Father Rene broke me.
Dude, yeah, every day I'm like, what is this? Abstract thought. No, it's something. But I don't know why, but I've always kind of, my freshman year of high school, I took a creative writing class. It was super cool. Really small class. Just really good vibes. Freshman year, a lot changed. We can get into that later maybe. But everyone was like, wow, Nate, you're so deep. You're so deep. You have all these deep thoughts. I was like, I'm just thinking. I'm not doing anything. I felt so weird. You're patronizing me.
That's got to be the weirdest compliment to take too.
Thank you. I'm so deep. What the hell does that even mean? No, but I've always just kind of ever since that and just being kind of outspoken about just how I think. This is random, but you look at someone like Kanye West, and this all makes sense in the end. But he says things, right? You're like, what the hell? Slavery is a choice? What the hell? That's bullshit. What does that even mean? But then you kind of look into it, and I read this article in the New York Times that they just sent a reporter out, or journalist, excuse me, to just hang out with him when he was in Jackson, Wyoming. To just hang out and just be with him. And there's so much more to what there is. So right now, I guess this segments into the media stuff, but kind of in this culture where it's headlines, it's info for 10 seconds, 180 characters, a post, something you like, and then you swipe up from, there's always more to it. So I was always really open about my thoughts and stuff. And I look at someone like Kanye West and I'm like, there's so much more to what is going on. And I just want to know what's going on. And that I've kind of, these philosophy classes, I knew I had an interest, but it's kind of this idea of meta theory, stuff like that, looking instead of just being in it. And having removed you from it, I think it's really fascinating. So long story short, I just like looking at the big picture, and that's what I think is cool about philosophy.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because like I said, I never had experience really with the philosophy program before I came here.
Yeah.
And it feels like every comm guy or gal has that pairing of some sort.
Exactly.
And it's kind of funny to me because I just have the one lane street. So I kind of want to know what it's like on different paths to see what that's
definitely.
like.
And I think that's one of the, going to a school like this, a liberal arts school, I don't know how much I buy that coming from this place, if I'm being honest. But going to a school like that, you have options. I think it's really cool. Because it's not just like, oh, I'm just in my business class, I'm not in my comm class or whatever. So you have the options, which is a really, really unique opportunity, especially just in college and university. So
yeah, give it a shot while you're here.
Exactly, right? That's the whole point.
Well, I guess I should just do a quick explanation, too, of what kind of led, because being that I've been doing this for a couple months now, one of the things that's really kicked my ass is when you're trying to find guests, it's nice to go outside your usual bubble. And, of course, I've met you through some classes that we've taken and service learning, which I also worked through that program, which was awesome. You guys are great.
Oh, thank you. Good. I'm glad.
But this is one of the first, this won't be the first, but most of the time I get to work with people that I'm a little bit familiar with. So this is us sitting down for the first time to introduce yourself and to kind of figure it all out. And the reason we kind of called this together is because we both had an intro to a discussion at the fading moment of a class at the very end of our comm class about social media, specifically VSCO, which lit a fire in your eye that I had to be like, you got to get on a microphone here, man, because I feel like I'm about to sit in the back seat of a preacher here. But I thought we'd just kind of go into it right away and just kind of see what your thoughts are on VSCO, because I've never actually touched it. And I was going to do a big bit on it with one of my friends who runs another podcast called the Candace Podcast, Vincent. We were going to recreate basic white girl pictures on VSCO. And I was going to be like,
too hard.
Oh, it was going to be, I thought it was going to be funny, but then again, I'm like the most unfunny person you'll meet, because when you go on VSCO, the first thing you don't want is some dude topless from the back looking out over a porch like he's in Paris, you know? Like, you don't want that. But at the same time, it was like, it'd be funny. But that was my first
meme.
For the meme. You got to do it for the meme. But that would have been my first experience on VSCO. So why don't you just tell me a little bit about probably just start from the beginning. You were talking to me about how it was originally like a Canvas app for artists.
So basically, VSCO it's essentially Instagram with no likes. Like, you can't see who's following you. You can't see who likes pictures. People can like repub stuff, but it's all just content. So there's kind of, I think it's a really cool goal, right? It's just a place for people to post what they want without the fear of like validation and verification through likes and how many followers do you have, like all this stuff, right? Kind of all the baggage that comes with social media. Who do you follow? How many likes do you get? Who are your friends? Blah, blah, blah. Tag me in this post, right? It doesn't really exist on VSCO. So the goal of the app is to just create a space where people could zero in on their creativity, specifically photographers. And I think that's really cool because you can do it on Instagram, but there's still that social media aspect where it's very much based on like, oh, you want to be with these people, get these likes, have that interaction. And VSCO was kind of removing that. It was strictly an art, like an app for sharing art, which is cool. So I think the intention and honestly, maybe even the execution of it, I think it's well done. But there's a lot of confounding variables that have made it. You know what a spam account is on Instagram or Finsta?
I was going to bring that up to you actually later.
Yeah, so I think VSCO has kind of become a massive one of those, which kind of sucks because I think it has potential to be a very powerful app where you can just do your thing, be creative, zero in on what you want as a creator, right? Because we all have access to it. We can all be artists. You can make a movie on your phone. Like right now. We're doing a podcast in a dorm room right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
But I think VSCO, I need to word this right, but I think VSCO it's become an extension of an Instagram spam page, which I think is really unfortunate. So yeah, that's kind of the intro. That's I guess that's my 2 cents to get us going.
No, that was awesome. Because I try to think of it, and I went on it literally just to kind of look around, like I was going to set up my own account for the first time.
I'm going to go on it right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Pull it up. Get some visuals going on a podcast.
Yeah, keep rolling, though. Keep rolling. What are you talking about? Interrupting.
No, I was going to say that I was surprised by, it having no likes, and I was surprised because it reminded me of what's going on with Instagram right now, where Instagram has been experimenting with going without likes, which seems like the death of social media to begin with, especially when you're talking about influencers and the amount of money that's in it. That VSCO seems like the Wild West, and I don't know really what's going to happen to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's a huge point to bring up, like the economic value of social media, right? I mean, so much marketing is done through social media accounts. Like some pages, that's all they have. Some companies, that's what they do. That's what they have. Look at these influencers, and it's like that's what they do. They're advertisers.
Yeah.
And when you have something like VSCO that attempts to remove that and remedy that and make a space where you are not quote unquote competing with that, is just average Joe Schmo who just likes to post stuff on Instagram, I think it's cool. It's and like I said, it's a really noble intent, but it just doesn't really hold up in our this current age of social media. There's this elimination of likes is like, oh look, I feel like it's supposed to just make people be carefree. They can do it. They can express themselves freely because there's that system of you're good enough, you're not good enough isn't there, right? But I think it's created this idea of meta self-esteem, right? So instead of, oh, they have more likes than me, I have less likes, I'm going to delete this post, doesn't have as many likes, whatever, right? It doesn't do that. But it creates this kind of phenomenon that I've noticed in this, that everyone, in trying to be different, ends up being the same. So on VSCO, let's say, theoretically, I'm on VSCO, right? I'm chilling, I'm pulling up. I got my big-ass Fila Dino Stompers on like other girls have, you know what I'm saying? I'm chilling in my dorm with my tapestry in the back. Oh, I sound like an asshole right now.
Well, you want to know what's even funny? My FR just got gifted Fila
No
shoes.
way!
He's from China. I love him to death, and he's got these huge Fila shoes. And every time I see him walking,
VSCO girl.
that's all I think of. And he's the sweetest guy. You know, he's an FR.
Yeah.
But I see him, and he's like got 3-inch platforms like he's Austin Powers. And I'm like,
awesome.
Jesus, dude. Calm down.
Yeah, chill. But no, like, so let's say that's going on. I'm in my dorm, I'm doing that, right? So it's not going to be like, oh, I don't have as many likes, but it's going to be you're browsing VSCO, you see the norm, you see the Dino Stompers, you see the crop tops, you see the the champion joggers, the crop tops, like I said, all that stuff. And that's going to influence what you post. So then you see it, you post it, and then you go out and you see it with everything else. And if it matches up with everything else, it's good, right? So it creates a sense of you're not getting monitored by likes, but you're monitoring yourself. So it's not like I just feel good about like what I'm posting. It's like I think I feel good about what I'm posting. Post it. Oh, I feel good about it because it matches up, right? And I think that's really dangerous in terms of a whole society. So I think VSCO has just created this phenomenon. I guess I'll coin the term of like meta self-esteem. It's not so immediate, like, oh, look how many likes I got. Look how many people followed me. But it's this internal, unspoken thing of this unconscious comparison. You see it, you post it, your thing matches up with it, it is good. And I think in terms of that kind of like that idea in context of the United States where individualism is everything, we're just fooling ourselves. We're not individuals. We are, but we're not acting like it. You can't all be the one, right? So I'm getting way off, but
dude, there's no such thing as off topic on this show.
But yeah, it's just in my class right now. We're talking about. I just did a whole paper on the American mythology of individualism, and like how that relates. And I use the Joker as the example, but I think that movie. I love that movie. Incredible movie. Incredible film.
That
great
movie,
piece of cinema.
Easily top 3 for me.
Absolutely, Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's better than Heath Ledger. I'm gonna get shit for that.
Oh,
but
I thought you were just talking about the character.
No,
I thought you were talking like, oh,
everything, dude. The whole movie was incredible.
Oh.
Joker, I thought it was better than Heath Ledger's. It's just, yeah. I digress. But like, so I did this thing on the Joker and the idea of like American individualism, and I guess we can get into mythology more after this, but that's the idea that we can all be the individual, and it's kind of like I said earlier, when we're all trying to be different, we end up being the same. And I think something like VSCO, something like social media, it does a lot of that because we all want to be different. So we end up all wearing the same clothes, all being counterculture. But when we're all counterculture, we're just the culture. So like I look at like Joker, right? To kind of tie this point in, it's kind of calling us to be the Joker, but we can't all be the Joker. It's not possible. There's only one. So we're kind of sold this lie of individualism when we're really just in the state of species being. We're all being together. And I'm not saying individualism is bad or species being is better, but I think let's not fool ourselves into thinking we are doing individualism well, because I don't think we are. I think social media really fucks it up, because you are like, I'm going to be an individual, but I'm going to express myself based on how I think it's going to work, right? No, just be yourself. The way to be an individual is to be yourself. And I don't think we do a lot of that. So I think this mythology that's being reinforced through social media of everyone's an individual, but everyone's acting the same, it's just a conflict of interest. So I think the biggest thing of social media is just kind of the elimination of just the self, right? Because you're just another number. You're just another profile. You're something someone likes for 2 seconds and moves on. You just kind of succumb to the norms. I do that. I think a lot of people do that. We all do it to some extent. I think that's dangerous, because we're not here to be the same. We're here to be ourselves. We're here to be individuals in it together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you know Sisyphus, that story? It's
No.
like, so this is
Remind
like literally mythology, but basically Sisyphus is like condemned. He was an asshole to the gods. So they're like, I don't like this guy. So he's doomed to push a rock up a hill, like a huge boulder up the hill his entire life. And he can never get to that. It always rolls down at the end. And I forget who it was, but there's a philosopher. I think it was Michel Foucault. I don't know. I'm not sure. But basically he argues that Sisyphus should just smile when he does it. He just laugh, because that's his lot in life. That's what he's meant to do. He's going to roll that up over the rest of his life. So, I lost my train of thought. But this idea of... Oh, yeah.
Is it more like... excuse me. Is it more like now that you have purpose, you're an individual, that you have an individual purpose rather than following with a trend?
I think so. I just think social media... Like, this gets into, like, human nature and our purpose here. And, like, the Sisyphus story, I tie this in because... He's like, we should laugh while we do it. We're pushing up that rock. We should not. That's what we do. Might as well enjoy it while we do it, right?
Yeah.
So I look at this idea of individualism and this other idea of species being, and I think we got it wrong. I think it's in the middle, and I think we fool ourselves to think we're all individuals, because we are a community. We're just social creatures. So we're all Sisyphus pushing the rock up, right? We shouldn't aim to be like those other people. We should just push our rock up, because we're all doing it together. Like, we're all spread out. We're all pushing up the same hill at the same time. So let's just do it our own way. You know what I'm saying? So I really went off here, and I don't know if I'm thinking about this, and like I'm like, do I like what I said? I don't really know, because it gets really difficult when you're dealing with these questions, because it's in the middle. We're not one thing, we're not the other thing. We're in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
And there's such a variance between what people need. Because I also think of like the idea of social batteries. Like, you need to be on your own before you go back into the group. And then sometimes you need to be in the group longer before you go back on your own.
Exactly.
And that counterbalance between you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only thing that maybe I got lost on there is the idea of, you know, is it our burden to push the rock up with the community as a whole? Or are we all rolling it up and we're just in a group mindset that we're all doing the same thing? We're all trying to find our lot. Like, it sounds like the image is 50 people pushing a rock up versus one person.
Okay, I get this. I get you. So let's unpack it, right?
Yeah.
So I think individualism, the way I see it, it would be 50 people, right? All have their own hills, their own separate boulders. They're pushing up together.
Okay.
Complete species being would be us all pushing the same boulder up together.
Okay.
But I don't think it is. I think we like to think that we're all on our own pushing our own boulder up, but we're not. We have these subgroups that are all... So we're not pushing 100 boulders, we're not pushing one. We're pushing like 50. We're pushing like 25 or something, because we're in the middle somewhere. We're not all being one way, we're not all being the other way. We're all doing it. And maybe one guy, maybe he's super jacked. You know, he's like a shot put thrower on track. He's like, he can push this is individualism. He can push his boulder through raw strength, right? He can just do it. But like a guy like me, I'm lanky as hell, right? Maybe I'll use some extra leverage, right? Because I'm tall and I can finesse a little more. But then this guy over here was like, you know, maybe I should wear some cleats or some spikes or something so I can actually grip the ground, right? So we're all going to do it our own different way. And the idea of, I think this there's a union in this, right? Between species being and individualism, where we will push up multiple rocks, but not each our own, but we'll all help in different ways.
Mm.
So I won't push the rock with brute strength. I'll do something else. I won't just go at it like on my own. Maybe I'll use a machine. Maybe I'll do something else. So I think these two ideas are kind of wed in this, and how this is interesting. I've never had this thought before, but in how we're viewing this is kind of the allegory of Sisyphus. I think we're pushing up 25 boulders. There's groups doing it, but we're all going to the same goal.
Okay.
So I don't know if that makes sense. I really went off there, but
dude, like I said, no such thing as off topic, and I'm
sponging.
Yeah, I'm just taking it all in the best I can.
I hope it makes sense. So if you get lost, just let me know. We'll try to unpack it.
No, you're good. I got that one, and besides, it's recorded.
Perfect.
Boom. I got it. But what are your thoughts now? Now that we go from kind of that sad idea of like individuality, and kind of everyone's, battling to kind of push to this certain place. Let's go to something a little more humorous.
I agree.
One of the sad outcomes, rather, the sad, tragic lens of a VSCO girl. What are your thoughts right now on this? Because it's booming now, but
like
it's been
VSCO
around.
Girl?
Yeah, it's been around for a while. Like I remember VSCO girls, the term being around, but lately, with the Hydro Flask and the bands, I wish I live streamed this one because your face makes me laugh. But what are your thoughts? Let's just take a quick turn. I want to pick your thoughts.
I'm triggered. I'm triggered by VSCO girls, bro. Oh man. No, but I think there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it goes back to the idea. It's like, bro, you guys are all badass, cool people. You don't need to buy the Hydro Flask. You don't need to wear the dinosaurs. You don't need to have the tapestry in room, right? Because you're good. You're cool. Like, be yourself. And I mean, this isn't like to hate on VSCO girls. This isn't to be like, oh, you're not doing it right. But like, dog, you're cool. You're doing it right. Don't look to these norms to base off yourself because you're a fucking gangster. Like, VSCO girls, I just like get so mad because I'm like, dude, you don't need the Hydro Flask. You don't need the corny quote about God on your VSCO. You don't need to repub this picture of a girl in a crop top or some fucking Christmas tree. Like, dude, I get it, but don't, like, I sound like an old man. I'm like, social media.
No, but you're losing the glimmer of your personality in
exactly.
it, I think there's a lot of danger. I've talked about this before on podcasts of, I kind of, now I call it like social hawking, where you're all coming in on one image and we all try to share that image together. And I think you disappear. And we're going back to the conversation we had before a bit there, but
I mean, it all ties together though.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's a really interesting phenomenon to kind of watch right now, especially being, I know I'm a couple years older than you, but I'm kind of past that time now where I have to worry about what my classmates dress like, act like, what apps they're on. I have no sense for that anymore. Like, maybe I've just aged out of it because my maturity's on a different scale or something like that. But when I look back at this, I can't help but think, where's the individuality? Where's the lack of trends? Where can we kind of find that new creativeness? And that's what I work with people who do art all the time. I'm doing, stories. I'm working with people that are writing. I'm doing podcasts, painters, sketch artists, you name it.
Yep.
And they always tell me the same thing. There's a huge lack of creativity right now because we all have the same access to a lot of information. Yeah. And I think that's kind of an interesting thought to have, that you can kind of jump off and go deeper with. It's a flat-faced statement, but I always kind of have that in the back of my mind, that because there's so much out there that we have access to, we kind of forget to really dive into it. We just assume we have it. We have this very materialistic mind where we're just like, there it is. I've got it. I've conquered it. So I'm going to go somewhere else. And we end up wasting our time rather than sifting through the things that we already have. Yeah. And you lose a lot of glimmer to your personality in there, and following those trends. But
yeah, and like, I think that's perfect because I'm still hung up on how I talked about individuality and species being. I just came at that out of nowhere. But I think as we go, I think it lends itself to be a meaningful thing, because that's the idea of like, you kind of saturate yourself. You become what everyone else is. You wear the clothes, you post you adopt the mannerisms, you laugh at the same things, right? It dulls you because you're not being yourself. You're being something manufactured through this idea of social media and this image is projected on you. So yeah, I like what we did with that. But yeah, art, lack of creativity, where we're going with it. I think it's interesting because now it's like I talked about this like in the beginning.
Yeah, and before you jump into that, like when I say lack of creativity, like it's not that people aren't creative, it's that individual creativity is kind of pushed on certain
I get
people.
you.
Like you look at a group and you used to go, oh, that's an artist. Excuse me, I got a sore throat. But you could see in certain groups, or you can see at our school, there's a select group of students that would even consider participating in an art class, and the rest who would never do it because they have no ambition to be creative and just get dulled down.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of a fallout of these dumbed down personalities that you just get through being on social media. You just kind of become that, and there's no need for creativity because someone else is doing it for you. They're creating the image, or they're making the norm, right? But I think it is interesting because right now, like I said, I talked about this earlier, but we all have phones. We can all make movies. We can all take photos. Everything is accessible, but that doesn't mean there's an increase in art, though. That's the thing. Just because it's there, just because there's more of it, doesn't mean it's good, right? So you look at, then this gets into the question of what makes art. Like, why is the Mona Lisa so, like, heralded? I can just look at it on my phone, right? But being with that piece is a whole different experience. I've never seen it. But then, like, one of my profs talks about this really eloquently. But, like, just because I can go on my phone, it kind of diminishes it. Like, you look at listening to the same song on Spotify versus on vinyl. On Spotify, you just plug your headphones in and, like, you listen to it. It's great, whatever. When you put it on vinyl, there's a lot more that goes into it. You have to buy the record player. You have to find the record, right? You have to put it on. You have to drop the needle. Then you have to wait for the song to come on. You have to get through, like, 3 rounds before it or whatever. And then you're like, I'm going to listen to it. So it's not just, plug it in. It's over. It's easy to get to. I take it for granted. It's very intentional. And that's why the experience is so much more like, it's just more because it took more to get there. So looking at a picture of the Mona Lisa on my phone, I don't care. But if I go to the Louvre right now, you bet your ass I'm going to care because I just went to the fucking Louvre.
Well, yeah, it's satisfaction. It's satisfaction with the journey.
Exactly. And I think that's a very important part of what we kind of call art. I think it's very important because art inherently, it's difficult. Creating is hard, right? If you're really creating, it's really hard. So I think the journey is very important. If it just shows up on your phone, you get numb to it. Like, I always think about this. So I went back 50 years ago with my iPhone, right? Holy crap. Incredible. People would think I'm like a wizard. But now it's just here, so we get numb to it. And I think it's the same with art. I think there's a big threat of saturation and overexposure, and we just start to take it for granted. Because you see all these groundbreaking people on Instagram doing just really out-of-the-box creative things.
Yeah.
But you're just like, okay, it's just another Instagram post. So I think there's a big threat of just taking it for granted, which sucks because there's so much out there that we just miss because you just explore page, like, move on. It's like, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of the reality.
Yeah. No, it is unfortunate now that I think of it. I never thought of, like, Instagram, too, because I follow a lot of outdoor stuff and how much, like, it's edited in Photoshop, too. Yeah. So I don't know what to tell is real beauty versus fake beauty and whether I can admire them the same. I end up admiring them the same because I think it takes talent to work Photoshop because I've tried to make a thumbnail and I failed so bad. Like, awful. Hard. But, yeah, it is interesting, too, to go on Instagram and VSCO or whatever site you might be on and wonder, am I actually seeing the real thing?
Yeah.
And I think there's also that satisfaction bases itself off of seeing it in the flesh and being able to know, like, look at this, it's actually come to being in the world, but I'm sitting behind a screen right now, and because of that draw distance between us, I kind of lose the sense of
when you're just bombarded with it, you're just like, it's like whatever. And I think that's unfortunate because, like I said, there's so much out there. There's so many people doing so many great things, and it's just like something you like and move on from like 2 seconds later.
Yeah.
And it sucks because people are doing work for that. That Instagram post that I saw on the Explore page, it was cool. Some guy busted his ass to, like, go out, take the photo, Photoshop it, do that. And the only platform he has is something where he might never get the traction he deserves. Is that part of art, or is that a flaw on the behalf of social media and how it works? Like, I don't know. And I think that's something that's really important to talk about when we talk about art, literature, video, filmmaking, photography. I think it's important to recognize that there's a lot more out there than we see, like in terms of creators. You see your top, like on YouTube, right? There's like your few guys who are there.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many content creators on YouTube who are probably better, but will never get like the coverage and the platform that they deserve. And how do you fix that? I don't know. You can't have a bunch of Casey Neistats. It's not possible.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. It kind of reminds me of a topic I brought up on Twitter, and the idea of like we're losing the track of people through opinions because opinions are so numerous. I remember when I was a little kid and you had to stand up in front of your class. I remember like the day, it was in first grade. I had to stand up in front of my class and give an opinion on a book.
Oof.
And I was terrified to speak about my opinion because it differed from everyone else. But at the same time, when I got off from in front of my classmates, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And my classmates actually appreciated that I was willing to stand up there. It was considered very brave to share your opinion. It was considered very scary. It was considered a very big deal. So it kind of, I'm trying to loop this back a little bit, but
we're just freestyling right now, bro.
right now, but
I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of a hangout podcast, which is awesome. But what my big ultimate point was with that is that because there's so many opinions, because there's so many viewpoints, because there's so much saturation on the market right now, that we kind of lose the context of a human being. That we look at you and you're just like, you're just another person putting stuff out there, pumping shit out of the factory every day, and we just are like kind of throwing our hands up. We really don't know what to do with that. And I think there's a lot from what we've talked about in art that we can also say about in social media. Twitter is my number one platform that I always look at like that, where there's so much out there and there's so much content that people want to be seen and heard that you lose the talented amongst them, and that 100%. No one really cares about them, which is so unfortunate. And it's not to say that people don't matter. People do matter, but you also have to understand that we should be looking inward and trying to better our community from within. Pull everybody up together rather than this crab bucket where if you've ever been to Red Lobster, crab buckets are my favorite thing to sit next to because you watch the crabs try to get out of the tank by pulling on the one above it and then climbing up only to be pulled down by the next one, and they never actually get anywhere. And that's kind of what I look at social media as right now, is this big crab bucket that no one's getting out of, whereas before a lot of the best artists kind of came out of communities pulling them up. I think of that movie Big Eyes. I can't remember the artist's name, unfortunately.
Oh, I don't know.
Great movie with Amy Adams and, he was in Django Unchained.
Jamie Foxx?
No.
Leo DiCaprio?
No, he's
Christoph
Austrian.
Waltz.
Christoph Waltz is in it. But that's more of a story on suffering, but the community actually kind of pulled her back into painting, and she got big again. But
who's it?
Actually, this reminds me of another question I have for you.
Walter Keane? Margaret Keane? I don't know. Oh, I'll find it. Keep going, though.
Yeah, the movie's called, like, Big Eyes or something. It's starring Amy Adams and Christoph Waltz. But I kind of want to...
Yeah, Margaret Keane. Margaret Keane. She's the artist.
Yeah.
Gotta give credit where it's due.
She was living in Hawaii, and people were like, you got to see this chick's art after she basically ran away from an abusive husband.
Yep.
And it was the community pulling in together. Of course, she's talented. She worked on it. But the community pulled her back up, and I think that's what would be awesome to see. Again, I'm just looking up in the sky with starry eyes and praying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting to go on Twitter and Instagram and to see all these different influencers. That's a big word, too, to toss around, is influencers.
Yeah. Influencer, I think influencer can very quickly go bad. You play video games at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you know Borderlands 3?
Love it.
Yeah. Like the Calypso twins, it's just it's messing around with influencers, right?
But I love that this is where it's gone. This is perfect.
I love it. We're going from like super deep Greek mythology and like species being to like Borderlands 3. This is great. I love it.
Oh my
I can
God.
really flex my liberal arts education.
You're phenomenal. You want to come back?
Oh, please, come on. Nate Dogg Part 2 right here. The cross country guys call me Nate Dogg.
That I have to have a cross meet because I came from Superior. All the roommates and my neighbors were cross guys, so I kind of want to gauge what's going on here.
Dude, you got to pull up track conference champs coming at you this season. Come on, now.
I should. But continue. Sorry, Borderlands 3 Calypso twins.
Yeah, so the Calypso twins, and obviously their influencers gone bad. That's the whole joke. But I think there's a lot there that's really important. And they look at like, this is, I think, a really good example of losing the person. Like, they're just, like, when you have 1 million followers, when you're an influencer, like the Calypso twins, they just have, people just join the COV, and then they just go to Tyrene, and they just, like, literally shoot themselves in the face for the God Queen, you know? Yeah. They're like, yes, anything for you, Queen. And they think she's going to do something. They think by killing the vault thief and all that will get them some regard. They're Iridium tier followers. They deserve something. But they're just pawns for her. And I think influencers, it's very easy to just use others for your own success. Because at the end of the day, why are they successful? Because people follow them. Yeah. Right? And sure, like, this gets weird, but of course people are successful because people follow them. They support them. But on social media, I think it's really dangerous because they're not really doing anything but using you. All they're doing is producing some stuff for you to kind of get spoon-fed, and people just eat it up. So I think influencers, is there good intent? Is there a lot of power in that? Yes. But I think it goes bad really quick. Like, you look at someone like James Charles, right? And I think that does way more harm than good. I don't think that's empowering. I think that's very disempowering to the people he represents, specifically like the LGBTQ community. Because, like, he is the stereotype. Why would you want that to be? There's so many more examples of people who should embody that community. Why is he the one? And then you look at kind of these influencers who kind of represent our generation to the world. That's what people think. Because influencers, a lot of them, they're self-entitled asshats, you know? So I think it's dangerous. And I look at the Calypso twins, obviously as an extreme example, but I think influencers it's a phenomenon that I don't know if I like that much.
Well, can I introduce you to something that I have been really addicted to? So I was going down because I like to study social media, comm major, obviously. I like to look at this type of stuff. It fascinates me. And this has been going on for a little while. It hasn't picked up the same traction that most influencers have. But have you ever seen Little Michaela?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
For the listeners who want to know what we're talking about, it's on Instagram. It's called Little Michaela. It's spelled Lilmiquela. And Little Michaela, in short, is a computer-generated girl.
Yeah.
That's 19 forever. Yeah, she's 19. And now she's on Spotify. You can find her under Michaela. I didn't know she had music. I found that out today before you came. Because I was like looking it up. I was like, I got to bring this up at some point. But she's got like over 1 million followers. And people are posting like in the comments like, are you a real girl? Like blah, blah, blah.
That's wild. There was this guy, I forget his name, it was like Phoenix or something. He's an F1 driver who isn't real. Same thing. And I was like, this is weird. Well, I don't caught on.
The thing is, like, to me, like, it's brilliant because she's 19 forever. You don't have to, you don't age out. Mm-hmm. And it can be ran by a bunch of nerds at a bunch of desks like us.
It's
like
genius.
We could run that.
It's genius, actually, that because it never goes out of style.
No, and you can literally just like 3D print the clothes you want onto her. You don't have to buy any of them.
Fascinating.
And then all the locations, you could take a picture in a location and digitally put her there, or you could digitally create the image and put her there.
Whoa, I did not know that. I didn't know she was that big. I knew these were things, but I'm just now realizing like how the scale of that. Because we age out. She never will, like you said.
Yeah. Well, and you want to know the craziest part? Up? You know how I found out about her?
Huh.
Fucking IKEA.
Does IKEA have a sponsor deal with her or some shit?
No.
Oh my God.
I found out.
I almost got triggered.
She's sponsored by like Samsung and all these different phone groups and stuff like that. You got to go through the page just donate like 15 minutes of your time and just go to the single photo view of her profile and just scroll down and see what happens. She's with like Millie Bobby Brown. Like she's with these big stars pretending to be like in a brace with them. It's weird, dude.
That's weird. That's really weird.
I think there's a picture of her. Maybe, I can't remember if that's Millie's page or if that was Drake.
But Millie and Drake. Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, she took a picture with Millie for sure. And I think I saw one with Drake. And it's weird because you're like, they're posing like that. They're posing to pretend like somebody's got their arm.
That's so weird.
And then they just like cut her in there.
What the? It's like dystopian. Low key.
So weird.
It's so weird. Oh, that is weird. It's genius, though.
It is.
Wow.
And I found out about that. I found out about it through IKEA because my buddy was talking to me about IKEA. All the furniture you see in the magazines, about 70% of it to 80% of it isn't real.
No way. Is it all rendered?
It's all 3D animated onto the page so they can get that couch to fit that room exactly the way they want it.
Wow, I did not know that.
And it's the same technology
Whoa.
they use for Michaela.
That's crazy.
That they completely fit her to look a certain height depending on who she's with, so that you get that elongated body, that tight waist, thin neck, the shoulder blades. You can see the shoulder blades just right. It's all the same. That they just kind of take a little slider and figure out what's the perfect size for her at this angle, the same way they do for your favorite couch from IKEA.
That's really weird.
Isn't that crazy, dude?
It's like, oh, what? That's weird. And it's manufactured. People buy it. People are like, are you real? That means they probably think she's real.
Dude, you want to know what's crazy? You see this table that this thing's attached? This is from IKEA.
No way.
And I got it online.
Bro, little Michaela's in this room through the IKEA storage thing. This is crazy.
She's got ears.
Welcome, little Michaela, to the show.
She'd probably be the most famous person I have on here by anything, and I don't even know if I'd get like a Stephen Hawking voice or something.
I am little Michaela.
Hello. But the freaky thing to me is her music, dude. It's like an actual.
Good?
I don't know. Like I don't listen. It's like it sounds like Selena Gomez mixed with something. Like it's just that really popular tone of voice right now.
Yeah,
and it's computer generated. So it's kind of like what they did with Kesha years ago. Remember when they auto-tuned most of her songs?
Mm.
And turns out she's a fantastic singer. We just didn't know till like 7 years later, till she was doing theater performances live. But I think they did the same thing. I think they took somebody's voice, baselined it, and then they made it fit the way they wanted to. And the craziest thing I found out today is they filmed a music video with her.
No way. Really?
And she's digitally animated into the music video, and they made a trailer for her page. So it's a behind the scenes, like she's sitting in like that casting chair, and they're like, she's on her phone, and then she's dancing. She plays Spin the Bottle, like with a group of people. Like this is serious animation talent.
Wow. That's not messing around.
No, but then again, it's like, this is it. Like, she's only got 1 million followers. I think they've got 4 or 5 other people, like influencers, I say in quotations, these digital influencers ran by the same company.
So they're all run by a company?
I think they are.
Oh,
I
that's
think they're all
interesting.
ran out by, like, it's kind of like a media group.
If they are, that would be fascinating to look into. Because it's kind of like manufacturing fame. And like you look at viral videos now, it's kind of lost its charm because it's all manufactured.
It is.
You just call someone out in a rap video and it's viral. You know, it's like it's very manufactured. So
no, and
it's interesting.
Have you also seen like a lot of the most viral stuff isn't usually like? Oh, I'm trying to think of a viral video from years ago. I always find it's like fights or it's something.
Kimbo Slice was a
memeable.
big one. Remember him?
Yeah, kind of.
He was huge.
I remember that. I right now I think of like the Karen woman that's like leaning through the car window.
Yeah.
That one's always big. It's usually something negative. I mean, it's not always. Like Bert Kreischer's hip hop dance was viral. That made me laugh. But it is interesting to see what's going to happen. I wonder what the next platform is.
Yep,
and
that's always the question.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother about this, he's also into video games, and we were talking about VR. Because we're going to like the MOA's got this big VR room. I was like, dude, we should totally go and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And my mom, God bless her, she got 2 tickets and we're going to try it out.
Oh,
She's
so
amazing.
Cool.
But I was like, can you imagine if social media's next like platform was VR? If it was an online chat room, like, I don't know which ones. I think it's Valve has one. Currently, they have a VR chat room where you could pick a character and then you talk to each other.
There's a bunch of memes that come out, like Shaggy and stuff.
It's so funny.
Stupid. I love it.
I'm going to Kermit suicide.
Yeah,
I love that one. But I wonder if that's where it's going next. Because when you look up anything like what's the future of social media, it's always like it's always mobile. It's the next technology. Where's it going next? And I think like VR, I think is going to become a bigger part of our everyday life because it's so tantalizing to be like, I can have the world exactly the way I want it.
Yeah.
I know that's a little bit of an overstep.
I know it's true though.
But I'm overstepping on purpose to kind of get people in the mind frame that when I go in a VR set, it looks kind of cruddy right now, but that technology is only going to leap faster and faster.
100%. It's crazy. I watch some guys on YouTube I don't know if you know Chord or Digital, but they have their channel's called Node. That's like
I
Node.
see it. Yeah, I do know Node.
Yeah,
Yep.
so they do a lot of VR stuff, and they did it back when like Oculus Rift was like new, like 2015, 2014, super like prototype stuff. And I like watch these videos, and like you look at 2014, 8th grade, like Nate, right? I'm just doing whatever, watching Node on like a cool Saturday night, right? And it's like, wow, this is cool, but it looks like N64 graphics. Then you watch it 3 years later, and you're like, wow, this looks like this game I'm playing on my Xbox. And it's like, it just like that. It went up. So it's going fast, and I think, where is it going to be next? I think you're spot on. I think the next social media thing is going to be something face-to-face. And we've always kind of skirted around, like, face-to-face, like, kind of like immersive experiences, stuff like Second Life, Sims. It's all kind of like this other living, but then you get chat rooms, and you have stuff like Omegle and like group like conferencing, and we're all kind of beating around the bush of something like social VR.
People like FaceTime too. Like, I'm surprised how much they like
people
FaceTime.
just FaceTime walking to class and on the link and stuff.
Well,
that's our bus if you don't go here.
Yeah, I prefer it now, like over calling. Like,
I
I would
agree.
rather you FaceTime me than call me, because I want to see. We talked about this in class the other day.
Yep.
I can't remember her name, but she was talking about, I would rather have somebody FaceTime me than call me, because I want to see your eyes.
Yeah, that was probably Aaron.
I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
But it's like true, because I think that's so much more authentic than calling, in a sense. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, you just want to text me. It's so removed. But now we have this thing, FaceTime, that is so accessible. You just FaceTime someone instead of calling them, and it's face to face. It's like you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that gets even more. I think that just keeps going more in that direction. It becomes like a VR chat room where you can just hang out and everyone has avatars and stuff. So who's to say that we can't exist like within our bodies within a digital space? I think it's very possible.
What do you think about when people say stuff like, we don't want interaction? We grow more on interactions online, but we're not really coming together. Like you and me right now, we're sitting across from each other, we're having a conversation. But then there's stuff like FaceTime, and there's stuff like VR. I put in the middle ground right now, because you can physically see the person somewhat moving, and you could hear them and everything. It's like they're there with you.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts right now on that idea of not seeing the face when they're interacting versus what seems to be growing in popularity, which is FaceTime?
I think something like FaceTime is important, because I think we talked about this earlier in the discussion about it's easy to remove the fact that that's a person. You look at Call of Duty lobbies, people are ruthless because it's a little like gamer tag. It's a little like slot on a leaderboard that you're literally shooting in game, right? And like Instagram, it's just another account. It's not, even though there's face to that, it's still just like, whatever. I'm behind the screen, I can say whatever. You have that defense. So I think a dynamic like face-to-face interaction, I think that's very, very, very intimate. And like, I think that really remedies a lot of that, the things that go on online of alternate personalities and like the Call of Duty lobby phenomenon of just being the worst people in the fucking world. I think it remedies that, because if I'm talking to you, if I'm playing COD right now and you're right there, like, how could someone talk shit because you're right there? You know, so I think
that is true. If you see the face, you're less likely to do something about it.
Because it reminds you it's a person. I think that's big. It's easy to be like, oh, it's just a gamer tag, right? But you're a person. I see you.
Do you think that would be the same even if people chose like an avatar? Like, what if I appeared as SpongeBob to you?
I think it would. I don't think it would. I think it would. What am I trying to say? It wouldn't do anything because it's the same person. It's still just an avatar. But once you put your face there, that's why I think FaceTime is so big, because it is a person. It's not just someone I'm talking to on the phone. Like, let's say this. So let's say calling ceases to exist.
Okay.
You know, sometimes when people like call you, like they're like a telemarketer, people like mess with them, shit talk them.
Yeah, my brother had one from India that he kept calling back, and he harassed him back.
Yeah. Case in point. But like, would that happen if it was only FaceTime and it was only face to face? I don't think it would.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
not.
Like, I don't think it would, because as humans, like, technology is so weird and beyond our primitive being. But like face to face, like if calling doesn't exist and I get some telemarketer FaceTimes me, I'm gonna be like, I'm not gonna dick around with her or mess with her. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm not interested. You know, hang up. So I think this face to face of actually being you, I think there's a lot of value in that. How do we like make that happen on a mass scale? I don't really know, but I think it's an interesting point to kind of talk about and keep in consideration as we kind of move forward.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Man, it is interesting. Let me throw this one out here.
What's up?
Just because I always got questions, man. You know
That's what I
me.
like. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I know, right? Do you think Twitter's salvageable?
What do you mean salvageable? I'm not on Twitter, so is it that bad?
Oh, I thought you'd be on Twitter. I am on Twitter.
Surprisingly,
I've been on and off Twitter. Guess how many times I've created a Twitter and deleted?
7's the magic number.
Oh, cut it in half and -1. No, I'm kidding.
I was
You
like
can't
2.5.
cut it in-
No,
no,
wait,
it's around
it's 2.5.
Three.
Nice. Okay.
I've had 3 different accounts, 2 personal, and then I got one for the podcast,
Okay.
which I haven't really used. I just use it to reach out to people, which surprisingly, people have been very generous about reaching out. Thank you, guys.
Nice.
Continue with that. I love hearing from you.
Heck yeah.
But I've always been surprised by Twitter mobs. Twitter mobs is like the entry level that I think everyone kind of knows about, is when one post comes up that you don't like, everyone gangs up and basically bullies that person into silence.
Oh, that's dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it is.
But at the same time, Twitter, I've also seen it do some really cool things. The most recent one, I know this is a little obscure, but it's the most recent one I've had, was I've been reading in. I tell you, I do weird stuff. So I've been studying the Westboro Baptist Church.
That's fascinating. Don't apologize. That's super cool.
Just wait till you hear what I do
let's keep
after
it
this.
rolling.
I should tell you after this, but one of the granddaughters of the leader, his name was Fred Phelps. Her name is, what's her first name? Her last name is Roper Phelps.
Okay.
She wrote a book. Oh my gosh, I just listened to her. Shoot. Anyway, she was 27 when she left. I think her name's Natalie. Something like that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll have to fact check myself later.
About it.
But I'm going to get her book. I'm really excited. It just came out. But she left when she was 27.
Mm-hmm.
And because the way she left was through Twitter. Because Twitter is their active way of coming back at people. It's their belief is we have to go into the community to fix the community, versus other religions, it's we isolate ourselves from the community so that we can have a more perfect community, right? So you kind of get what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I see you.
So she used to go after Jews a lot.
Okay.
They don't like Jews. They don't like any.
They don't really like anyone.
They don't like anyone. They're the only. They believe they're the only church that teaches the true word.
I just roll my eyes. You can't tell because we're not live streaming, but oh.
One day, man, there'll be a camera right there. That's why this setup is the way it is. We get into cults and immediately faces are flying, man. But what was I saying? She basically worked her way out of the cult to speed the story up because she had interactions on Twitter. And I know that's a very extreme circumstance, but I also think Twitter can be a great place to change minds because you can have slow embracement of little ideas over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, short, vicious cuts can kill somebody very quickly.
Yeah.
So I wonder what that can do. And then this also comes back to my thoughts on, or I shouldn't say my thoughts, my opinions on the idea of, with such a wide marketplace of ideas, that voices get lost and human beings kind of get pushed off to the side and we forget that that's a person.
Yeah. I think Twitter is definitely salvageable. I'm not on it, but I think there is something. I think Twitter is valuable because I talked about 100. We only have 180 characters to do it. I think they extended it or whatever. But the sentiment holds up. But I don't think that makes Twitter a bad place. I think it's a place where there can be a middle ground.
Yeah.
Because you can actually have discussion. Something like, I think Facebook is lost. Facebook has gone to the dogs.
I was going to ask you that next.
Facebook is toast because it's just kind of a cesspool of your political beliefs. If you believe this, you see it. If you believe that, you see it. There's no middle. So
Did you see what it did in Thailand a couple years ago?
No, what happened?
It basically was a huge... I call it a drug-sniffing dog. It was able to find people that disagreed with government policies or elections and actually led to the murder of quite a few people. I believe it was Thailand. This is when you get me on rants that I forget what I was actually reading.
No, it's okay.
But continue.
I know.
I was like, continue.
No, I think, Facebook, I think is...
Myanmar.
Facebook is lost. I think Facebook is... It's just fallen to the wayside because it is... There can be no middle. Facebook is just two sides yelling at each other. And, it's unfortunate, right? I say that in general. Of course, there's good eggs. There's diamonds in the rough.
There's your grandma.
Exactly, dog. So like, it's like not all Facebook is bad, but as a whole, I think it's jank. It's really toxic. It's really dangerous.
Even with them trying to diversify themselves with like Facebook TV and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think that does much because it's still based in Facebook. Yeah. I just go on Facebook and all I'm getting is shitty political pundits and army recruiters. I'm like, I really care. So it's like Facebook is just weird. It's been totally monetized, politicized, advertised, everything. Which is whatever. But I think Twitter is very salvageable because Twitter is where the people are right now. Yeah. People are on Twitter. It's not just old. It's not dated. It's not just stagnant. Twitter is very like it's dynamic because there's people on it. There's people actually having semi-decent discussion on it. And a lot of like cultural relics come out of Facebook. I mean, not Facebook. Come out of Twitter. There's a lot of like memes that come out of Twitter. There's a lot of like different opinions and insights from different people that come out of Twitter. There's a lot of ability to check someone. If you see something you don't like, you link that and then you comment on it. So like you say something about it. I don't know how Twitter works, so if I'm wrong, but I see all these posts. It's like you like retweet something and then you talk on it. Yeah. I think that's cool because I think it has more ability to facilitate discussion than, oh, look what Fox News posted. Wow, I hate the libtard snowflakes. And it's like, shut up, old man, I hate you. You don't, there's nothing there. There's no middle. But Twitter has the ability to build a middle. And that's why I think it's not dead.
Yeah.
Hashtag Twitter's not dead.
It's interesting to hear from somebody once in a while that's not on it. And I'm barely on it too. But I like to follow people that are on the extreme. You can learn this from the way I view like TikTok. Like I find the less teeth, the better. Like, I like I like the worse, the better. And it's the same with most of my social media. It's like I like to follow things that are polar. I like really far one way or really far the other because I like to hear the extremities of the world.
Interesting. Okay.
And usually what that ends up leading me down is to something vile. And maybe it's just my own tendencies, but at the same time, I'm seeing stuff. I'm just trying to think of a good page that I can start this on. Think about, because I follow comedians a lot because of my past. I like to see comedians and what they're doing, and then talk show hosts, which are subjects always. But even like think of this Roper, Phelps Roper, who's now out of the cult, who is this figure now for change. Her Uncle Nate's an even better example. He lives up in Canada.
Uncle Nate
Phelps. He's the son of Fred, the founder, and he left when he was 18, and now he's a gay rights activist, and he's like this piece.
So they're like, if they're like good vibes now, they're turning it around.
They're truth-seeking people that always outwardly admit they're not perfect, and that you have to constantly better yourself every single day. Okay, like I put them in a category, like 2 tiers below Mr. Rogers, like gone to the worst possible spot. Got their ass absolutely handed to them, and still figured out how to become better. And I don't think anybody. I don't know a lot of people around me that have been through that. Like I'm kind of sheltered, to be honest with you, when it comes to that type of story. So they deserve the highmost respect, in my opinion, because when you're able to do that 180 and you're able to make a change for the better, that's awesome. Absolutely. But even they'll get shit. Yeah. I'm amazed just by. I'm trying to think of a comment on the spot here. But I mean, I see like her sister Grace Phelps Roper. She gets shit all the time because she's not publishing enough, or she's not doing this enough, or she dresses a certain way. It's stuff like that.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
But now that I'm kind of grasping at straws with that, I should have brought more examples.
No, don't worry about it.
But there's always the comment of Twitter is a cesspool.
Yeah.
Full of people just going after each other. And of course there's segregated groups on Twitter too that you can't actively participate in, but I don't know. That's tribal thinking to me. I think we're living in a very tribal time of thought.
We definitely are. Especially in like the state of this current political climate, especially in the United States. Like it's so one way or the other. It's my way or the highway. Yeah. If you like Donald Trump, you're a racist, bigoted asshole. If you like Hillary Clinton, you're just a snowflake communist, right? It's like, what? No, there's middle ground, and I think most people exist in the middle ground. So when I look at something like Twitter, maybe this makes me naive, but I give it the benefit of the doubt, because even though it can be so toxic, even though it has those segregated groups. I still think it has potential to build a middle. And something like Facebook, I don't think has that power. Instagram, as much as I love Instagram, I don't think it has that power to build a middle. But I think Twitter does. So I think that's what makes it very unique. It's not perfect by any means, but I think it's a very hopeful platform, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that there's something positive going into it, because most of the people around me are kind of like-minded in my thought that I think it's not going anywhere. But
I also don't know, though. I'm
glad,
not on it. So
well, hey, it's enough to make me think to give it a second chance. That's the whole point, is like you're trying to find people all over the place that are what they think about it, I guess.
Definitely.
But I should tell you this, just before I forget.
No, what's up?
So I've been going down the religion road lately, because through social media, I'm amazed how much they recruit through social media. Yeah. And one of the groups that I reached out to in the past, and I'm not always proud of this, but do you know who Eden's Gate are?
Yeah, dude, no way. Yeah, I've heard of Eden's Gate. This is like Far Cry 5 stuff right here, dog.
I emailed them. They're still around. They got a website and everything. But they're the group that, like, I think it was 37 people committed suicide in the matching black Nikes with the purple tracksuits.
No way. Yeah.
You can email them, because of the 37 followers, there were actually 39 at the time. 2 of them got left behind and had to run the website. So the next time the comet came by and Jesus was on the starship behind it, they could encourage others to take the journey up to the comet's tail. Yeah. So there's 2 people running this thing. I think it's 2.
That's crazy. Literally, the cult in Far Cry 5, I didn't play that game.
Oh,
they're
I love
called
that game.
Eden's Gate.
Oh, I think it is Eden's Gate.
That's
crazy. So what is it called
crazy.
in the real one? I got to look it up
I don't
again.
know, but I was like, dude, that's crazy. Because I know it's based off a real thing.
Yeah, let me look it up.
That's wild. I have a cult story after this, too.
What was it called? Heaven's Gate. I'm sorry.
Heaven's Gate. I knew it.
I had Far Cry 5 on the brain because I literally played it the other day with my brother.
Nice.
But they emailed me back. And they're like, thank you for your interest. This is what we believe. This is blah, blah, blah. It was just like a general announcement statement, because I'm sure they're answering questions all the time.
Oh, man.
But they've got the best graphics I've ever seen. Like, it's that old 90s stuff.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's them. And they're still running that site. They're still doing it.
That's wild.
And then the other one, the more recent one I reached out to, is I was fascinated with Scientology.
Yeah, that is a big one.
I was in Clearwater, Florida, which is like most of their property is in Clearwater. They own most of it now. And my grandpa lives down there. So I was visiting him, and I was like, what the hell is that? And he's like, that's Scientologist church, So we were like driving around it. He showed me like John Travolta's beach house and all these like religious spots, because Scientology makes billions a year. But the reason it's a religion is because it takes that money and puts it towards religious. I need to make sure I choose my word carefully. They put it towards like the growing church. So they buy more property. So that's why they have all this property all over Arizona that no one uses, is because they have to take a certain allocation of that money and put it into use.
Yeah.
So they're becoming one of the largest largest groups in the United States, but they have no one to fill these churches. And so I was down there.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have no one in there. So I was kind of like, well, what's going on here? So I found this book called Going Clear, and I'm hoping to read it pretty quick. And it's about L. Ron Hubbard and what he was doing. Like, one of the things that I find fascinating about him is to avoid tax. He started the religion, like the upper level of the religion, on a boat out in the ocean.
No way. That's genius.
And that's what they still do to this day. Like the higher rankings, I believe they're called OCs or something like that. I have yet to read the book. But the higher up in the church you go, a lot of the training takes place on a boat out in the ocean.
No way.
Yeah. He was...
That's crazy.
Yeah, he used to wear like an admiral's costume.
Oh,
and also,
funny.
The thing that I find really interesting about L. Ron Hubbard is he's written more fiction, like fake stories, than anybody in the history of the world.
No way.
And
really?
Published it, yes.
Wow. That's not messing around.
No.
Holy crap.
So I get this book Going Clear, and then I'm also going to get Dianetics. And when I'm looking on the site to order Dianetics, they start emailing me.
Oh.
And they've been emailing me for about half a year now. And I have a designated email, like my spam email, that it goes right to. And once in a while I'll open it up. And dude, they got some pretty good deals.
That's crazy. That's wild. No way.
It's like $63 for like 3 classes. Like, it's like nothing. Yeah, let's
One
go
of my
in there.
friends got ordained as like a Scientology minister, and he was like 17 or something. Yeah, it's just online. Yeah, it's a certificate. I don't know if that's how it is, but it's funny.
I got bored in a business class and became a minister in Oregon.
There you go.
Yeah, boom.
Nice job. I don't know.
I can marry people in Oregon.
That's what we like. That's awesome. That's so fun. Religion is such an interesting thing.
Yeah,
Especially nowadays. It's like,
it is. Yeah, I don't know where it's going because I grew up in a Catholic family, but at the same time, I've always seen it as a business-like model because you need money to run it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's going to happen with the lack of people that are in religions.
Yeah. Like, I'm Catholic, and it is interesting because the Catholic Church is so old. A lot of religions, people aren't religious anymore, right? We're not, and like, I think being a Catholic, I don't really know a lot about, I can't speak to the other religions, other Christian sects, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, all those. I can't speak to that because I don't know. But Catholicism, there's a lot, in my opinion, I leave kind of ignored because I agree with it. So like their stance on like birth control, I don't really know if I agree with it, right? Just as an example. So I think that church is so old-timey. It's hard to get the youth in because they're not. I was talking to the bishop. I'm from Iowa City, and I was talking to the bishop in our diocese about it, and I came to the conclusion about like the Catholic Church just doesn't know how to market to the youth. It doesn't know, and we're not in a stage where you just brought up in it, right? You have to kind of market it more in a strange sense. So it's interesting.
You got to look at it almost business-like because the only real difference between a business and a church in the United States is how you allocate your money.
Yep.
And how you spend it, and depending on your beliefs, how you register your body. So, no, it's really interesting to see what that does. I'm gonna try to learn more about that because, I grew up in a Catholic family, Irish Catholic family, but at the same time, I was around Buddhists. I'm working with Islamic groups now. I've gotten a better chance to learn more about them. I spent time in Israel, so that was kind of my time to learn about Judaism and Islam. But at the same time, I don't know. It's like trying to catch a blob. There's no form to it. You don't really know how to kind of walk into it yet. And I think it's only getting harder. So I don't know. I'm still learning more about it. Right now, I'm deep in cults. I just watched Wild Wild Country. Well, really, I watched it like 6 months ago. And that's how this podcast started. That was one of my first tests we did. That's Wild Wild Country. And then Jamestown. One of these. I love Jamestown.
I have a story about that.
Go at it, man.
So I'm a sophomore, right? So I guess 2.5 years ago, going in my first year of college, me and two of my friends, Nick and Will, we went out to California. We just drove out there, 10-day trip. And, sorry, a little burp. So we went out. We went down to Temecula, San Diego.
He's got a glass of water for people that are wondering what he's doing.
I do.
Good man. I'm glad you used that because I know we talk a while.
Thank you. But yeah, so we went down like Temecula, San Diego area. I have family down there. Went up to Huntington Beach. It was cool. We kind of went that's a whole thing. We can talk about the road trip forever. But yeah. So Airbnb in our way through the country up to California, and we want to see the redwoods. And we're like, I don't want to go all the way up. We didn't want to go all the way up because it was a super long drive. We're like, no. It was just game time decision every day. Yeah. So we went up to, Uriah, California.
That's a hell of a name.
Yeah.
I like that, actually.
And, yeah, so,
good name.
I forget the other name. I gotta look it up. But, yeah, so we're going up there. There's a redwood grove up there.
Yeah.
We go into this town. It is literally Far Cry 5. It is in the middle of nowhere. We go through these woods, like this massive untouched like area. It's not even a state park. We just go through it, right? And we go over this massive bridge, and then we're in this town, Uriah. And it's like, it's the cultiest thing ever. There's no music. It's quiet. No one lives there. We go in this grocery store. There's one guy there. I went to use the bathroom. It's like outside in this little it was the weirdest thing. And then like we were walking to try to find a campsite, and there was a guy working on this old truck, and we just said, hey, like, is there a place? And he just looked at us and didn't say anything. I mean, goosebumps right now. Freaked me out. So we're like, okay, it's getting dark. So we're like, we got to find somewhere. So we went down to these this campsite to find these people. It's pitch black by now because we can find anything. We go down to this campsite. I'm like, hey, can we like use the spot next to you? And this family gets super hostile. Like, no, you got to get out of here. Like, this is our spot. It's like, all right, we are getting the fuck out of here. So we go across the town, and it's on the coast of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So like waves, or Pacific, excuse me. We're in California, but it's like waves crashing up against like the weird. And then we go to this other campsite full. So we decided to park. We're gonna camp on this beach. There was like this on this beach. There was the beach, and then there was like some like a I don't know what to say. It was like this canyon that was like protruding out. And when the tide went back, you could sneak over to this other part of the beach that was like sealed off by the ocean when the tide came back up. So like, we're gonna sleep there. So we're there, and then me and my friend Nick, we get this gut feeling. We're like, we are not gonna sleep here. This is so freaky. The cops were all over town for some reason. It was horrifying, and we're like the outsiders, right? We're some kids from fucking Iowa City. So we go back. We're like, we're getting out of here. So we leave, right? We go to we go to stay in Fort Bragg, which is just it's an armpit, just in Northern California. So then next day, we go to the Redwood Grove. We find some weird like paintings on these, like they're like Egyptian things in like the parking lot. Weird, whatever. Do the Redwood thing. Cool. So we're going to make our way back home now. We go down this road, literally middle of nowhere. We saw like 2 houses for an hour and a half. We get out there. Literally, you could, from where you're sitting, across the highway, which is probably 12 feet, right? Like, well, it's not that. But we could go down. We could see the interstate we wanted to get on. And the road was closed. So we had to turn around, go back an hour and a half to Uriah, and find our way out. It was horrifying. And we looked up, why was that so creepy? And that's the town, like, Jim Jones started in.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So, like, he started in that area. Let's see if I can find, I want to say the name right. Ukiah. It was Ukiah, California.
Ukiah, California.
I think so. Or, I'm going to try to find it. I think it was Uriah. But it was, we looked it up. And that was, like, where Jim Jones, cult, like, started. And that's where he, like, kind of did his thing. Yeah, Mendocino County. If you look it up, you'll see it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it was horrifying.
I'm sure.
Because it was weird vibes, weird energy. You felt it. And then when we left, we were on the road back. We're like, what was up with that? So we looked it up. We're like, well, that's where Jim Jones started his cult. So the whole town pretty much killed themselves in South America.
Yeah.
Like, what?
On the middle of, what, Venezuela?
Yeah,
No.
I think so. Was it? I don't know. I don't know enough about Jamestown.
I just remember it was like 200 miles from the nearest city.
Yeah, but it was horrifying because you still felt it. And when was that? It was in the 80s, right?
Yes. That was with Congressman Ryan flew down there in the late 80s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And all of his group got shot up. One of the only survivors that I found interesting was Jones's son. He was at a basketball game.
No way, really?
Yeah, he's still around. He preaches against his father's wishes now. But yeah, he survived. A handful of people survived. One old woman survived by hiding under her bed. It was this old woman from like New York, Harlem. You know, your favorite like grandmama character.
Oh no, that's
she
sad.
hid under her bed, and they didn't find her. So she was one of them, and she was one of the first people to discover that everyone drank the Kool-Aid.
Wow. Yeah, but that was a weird. Sorry, I'm looking at this map on my phone right now.
Dude, take your time. That's the beauty of this.
It was horrifying. Because, like, you don't, like...
Well, I think I'm in the same boat with you, because I was trying to get me and my... yeah, no, take your time. I can tell you this real quick. I was planning a trip out with a couple of my friends after seeing Wild Wild Country. I wanted to see Antelope, Oregon, which is the city that was 40 population.
Yeah.
No one lived there, and all of a sudden, overnight, 10,000 people moved in. A shopping mall was built. You know, this massive group came in, and they ran everyone out of town. And I kind of want to go back to see what it's like. Now, flipping that from being creepy, I'm sure, like, Antelope itself, there's some vibe there.
Yeah.
But the town, Rosh Hashanah, that was built for Oso, who's the leader of this cult, it's still there, and now it's a Catholic youth camp. So really? I kind of want to go back and see what it looks like. Crazy. Yeah, because you know they were very extreme about their like emotions. They would all go into a room together and walk themselves through the emotions, which it would go from like they'd all be wailing to then they'd beat the shit out of each other. Then they'd have an orgy. Then they would go to like just
That's so
everything
weird.
you can do to the extreme, and now it's a Catholic youth camp. So
No,
I kind of want to see
that's
what it's
funny.
like. Yeah,
A little opposite ends of the spectrum.
yeah, that it's dedicated. But I mean, the feat of engineering that was done there. They built their own dam. They
Yeah.
had an airport. They had like 92 Rolls Royces. They had a shopping mall. They had a giant like worshiping area. I want to go and see what it's like because I'm sure the residual like energy from that is still there. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
we were
dude.
in Mendocino. That's what it was. We went to we were living in We stayed in Mendocino and then went to Fort Bragg. But Mendocino was like, it was just freaky. Mendocino was the town that was like totally barren, and like I bet that residual kind of energy is still there.
Ugh.
It is just it's tantalizing. You feel it. We got in that town like this is weird, but we didn't trust our guts at first. We just stayed there and put ourselves in a really weird situation. I'm gonna be honest, I thought I was gonna die.
Oh,
I didn't think I was gonna make
it.
it out of that town. I literally felt like it was in a horror movie. I was like, I'm not doing this. So
There's very rare places that can make you feel that way.
it's
But
yeah.
when you find them, man, they scar you.
It's
And you
freaky.
know it.
I was talking about I was getting goosebumps. I remember the whole thing. It was weird.
Oh.
Have you ever like almost died before? That's random. Have you ever gotten close to dying? That's out of the blue, but I think it's a fascinating question.
I'm trying to think. I've had a couple moments where I thought I was gonna die there.
That's where
I fell off a cliff.
Oh no way!
I was dropped is probably the better suggestion. I was rock climbing. I was about to rappel,
Oh no!
and it was my first time ever climbing. And this guy who was very nice but wasn't paying attention to where I was standing.
Uh-huh.
I walked up and I kind of set my feet. You know, your butt's hanging.
Yeah.
I was still somewhat on my own feet. Like, I wasn't fully back yet, but he gave me all this slack like he thought I was going to ease into it, and I fell about 20 feet and smacked my head and hung upside down.
Holy crap!
And I thought I was going to die. I couldn't find my bearings. And the first person I saw, this was at a camp when I was young. I was maybe 14, man. 15. Maybe that's a little too old. Maybe around 12 or 13, somewhere in there. And luckily, there were people climbing up as we were going down, and this camp counselor's name was Sarge. He was a sergeant in the military.
Sarge.
He was climbing at the same time, and I will never forget this. He put his hand on my chest as I hung and just spinned me like I was a dial on like a rolling lock.
Yeah.
He just spinned me and like pushed me up against the wall, and he's like, "Go on." I'm like, okay.
Sarge, save your life.
Damn,
Yes,
dude.
Sarge. Thank you, Sarge.
Funny story, just to relate, my water cup here, the bracelet around it was made by Sarge.
No way.
Yeah, that was made by Sarge.
Sarge. Sarge is with us.
He's the ledge. And then
That's
I
sick.
got
I
caught
love that.
driving in Detroit at night because I've got family there.
Ooh.
But
yeah.
at the same time, I don't feel as threatened by Detroit anymore because I've been there so much.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I've gone with my mom. So I have like this false sense of she knows the city. So that's fine because she was born when the riots happened or right after.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
So I grew up, walking around Detroit, going to a couple of those museums and seeing where all the houses were burned down and having people yell at me all the time. So it's kind of like zero sum in my head. But at the same time, I've been down 8 Mile. And
Really?
it's all strip clubs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no one in Detroit. That's the thing. People are like, it's dangerous. Sure, it's dangerous. There's just nobody there.
Yeah.
Everyone left. And then probably... Oh, I almost got mugged. That's probably the closest.
Ooh.
I was walking. I know this is 3. You asked me if I've had
No,
one.
I love it. I want to know.
I've
I
got
think
3.
this is a fascinating question.
Yeah, and then it's like drownings. But I got pushed up against a wall by a guy who was asking for money for gas.
Uh-huh.
He said he broke down, and I was walking to the St. Paul Hotel, St. James, something like that. I was going to see some of my friends Carol for high school. I was like a junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a suit. I look nice, like it's a nice hotel. And I'm walking through a bad area right by St. Paul.
Yeah.
And I think no one's going to touch me. I'm 6'1". I'm walking fast. No one's going to touch me. And this little dude walks right up to me. He's like, I need gas. I need this. And I'm like, sorry, man. I don't have any money. I don't even have a wallet on me. I don't. I'm telling him the truth. Like, I don't have a wallet on me. I left it in the car in a parking garage that I had a lock to. It was at my dad's work. And he goes, listen, man, is this what God would do? And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little weird. And one thing leads to another. I start walking, and he puts his forearm in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a quick little swim move, and I just start booking it. But he tried to get me up against the wall, and I knew... I thought I was going to die.
No,
but that's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And then... Yeah, I think that's probably the worst, because I knew he had something on him, because he kept pointing at his back pocket, like his back belt. So there was something there, but I got out of there before anything bad could happen. So I've never been close. Never close, but... 1 second. Sorry, we had a quick entry.
Special
A
guest.
special guest coming back at us, but that's the closest. How about you?
So I've had, this is just what I think is such an interesting question. I've had like 3 times. So one time I was jumping on a trampoline, I fell square in my like on my like head, and I like bruised my sternum really bad, and I thought couldn't breathe for like 5 seconds. That was when I was like 14. So I was like, But then another one, this is a whole thing. So I'm like I said, I'm from Iowa City, like 6 hours away from here. So I Greyhounded back, because I don't have a car up here. I'd Greyhound back. Don't ever Greyhound bus in your life. It is the stupidest thing. I don't know how. It's logistically a nightmare. It doesn't work.
I've been told the same thing many times.
It's so romanticized. But it's like, oh, we'll go with the Greyhound bus, see America, right? And that La La Land song, like Another Day of Sun, they're like, I met like this person I love on like the Greyhound bus, like, so it's like cool. You're like, all right, bro, that's not what it is though. But I was on the Greyhound bus, this whole thing. So I wake up. So Greyhounds are always late, but this was the day like I forget, we either like lost an hour or something. So all the Greyhounds became an extra hour late because the time changed. So the night, and I'm like literally getting on the bus when this happens. So I'm waiting outside Iowa City for 2 hours at like 3 a.m. So that's fun. Get on the bus, go to the Des Moines bus stop. It's like an hour and a half away. Des Moines bus stop is probably about as big as 2 of these rooms. Very small. I don't know how big this room is, but it was like 24 by 24.
Okay.
Small as hell. And like not a very nice area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm there for like 20 hours. So a bus gets canceled. So there's 100 people on the bus stop. Everyone's getting mad. Everyone's trying to fight each other. People are pissed. It was just bad news. So a bus doesn't come because it's late, because a bus got canceled in Detroit. So now the whole country's off, or in Denver. So the whole country's janked up. And then another bus comes, and it's me and 4 other people. One of them's an old lady. So we let her get on. We're like, well, now what? I don't know. So I remember them. It was me, this guy named Rashad. He was probably about 30, and another college kid. Her name was Alex. So we just hung on this bus stop for 20 hours. Then another guy, like another whole group of people came in. People were trying to fight, all this stuff. Jeez. But there was this guy. He was sus. He was high as a kite. His eyes were glazed over. He was gone. You could tell he was gone. He almost got in a fight. He's like a Mexican dude, but he called this black dude the N-word, and it's like, okay, so everyone's he's just being an idiot. Everyone's trying to fight each other. It's a mess, and yeah. So that happens. Then I go to the bathroom. So I'm like in the bathroom, doing my thing, taking a piss, taking a leak, whatever. So I try to leave the bathroom. This guy comes in. It's this dude. It's the Mexican dude who's like super high. He's a sketchy character. And so I try to leave the bathroom. Like I open the door. He comes in and he like blocks me. And he's gone, so I wasn't worried. Like he's like out of his mind on drugs or something. But he comes in and he like blocks me. And he's like, he wants me to buy something. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you want. So I assume he had drugs on him. But and then he opened up like his like jacket, and he had tons of money on him. He had a ridiculous amount of money on him.
What?
And I was like, okay, that's sus. And I was like, no, bro, I'm trying to leave. And he was like, no, man. Because he was high as hell, and he was like, that sounded sus. But
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. This is horrific.
It's something. But he was like, he wouldn't let me go. And he was just in another place. But so I was like, no. And he just flashed me his money. And he had like, I think he had a knife on him, because I saw him like go for something else. And I was like, I'm done. So I just pushed him out of the way and left. But that was horrifying, because in a situation like that, you're at someone else's mercy. Even though it was this dude, he was kind of short, but he was like, he was inebriated, to say the least. But it's still freaky, because you're like, whoa, like this dude, like I was threatened by this guy. I didn't know he was gonna act and it was gonna go off. So that was crazy.
And when it's that close, like you're in a tiny little confined area.
It's like, yeah, it was a small ass bathroom, and it was it was just not a good experience.
Can I tell you one I just remembered?
I got another one after this, so let's keep it
We'll go back and forth
this
real quick. This one I never felt in any danger. It gave me a scare for a moment, but I
Mhm.
said I was in Israel for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was there, it was right when ISIS started to pick up.
Oh, okay.
And that's not too related, but one of the first scares that happened that kind of got me in the mindset that I'm in a place I'm not supposed to be was I came in on a plane called a 777. It's what you commonly fly on, right?
Uh-huh.
Boeing 777. In the same news cycle as the time I arrived, a 777 disappeared.
Oh my God.
Over the ocean somewhere. And my mom was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was happy no one, like, I was emailing her and everything, so, like, there was a clear communication. Like, I was fine. There was never any worry there. But it freaked some people out, like my friends who had watched the news, like, oh my God, like a 777 just disappeared.
Yeah.
And we can't find that anymore. But my family knew and everything was fine. But it kind of got me in the mindset of what was going on.
Okay.
Well, I was in southern Israel, and we were driving south. You know, we're seeing all these mountains. You know, we're taking a tour.
Yeah, doing Israel things.
Yeah, we're seeing, like, all the old war equipment. Like, they got AA guns out in the middle of nowhere.
That's crazy.
And we're running low on gas. We got to use the bathroom. So we all pull off at this old military base that's kind of, like, beaten apart.
Okay.
Kind of creepy. And there's soldiers there. But all the soldiers are great. Like, they're super nice guys.
Nice.
And they're like, yeah, you want to see this? Like, these are the boots I wear. Like, they're
That's
just kind of
cool.
showing
I like
off. They're
that.
like flexing.
Yeah.
It's like, what's up, man?
That's awesome.
I go in. I'm taking a leak. I had a sponsor there that had helped pay for my trip.
Mm-hmm.
And her name's Mary Jo. And she's a very lovely woman. I still talk to her to this day. And we hear, you know, this quick, like somebody's breathing really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the fuck's that? And Mary Jo goes, oh, look. And she looks up. And there's about 11, like, silver, almost like bullets traveling through the air. They're missiles. And they're flying far, far away from us. And they're traveling through the air. And I'm jolted.
Wow.
Like, what the fuck is going on? And the soldiers behind me are, like, laughing. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? There's missiles flying through the air that just came from the strait. Like, that's going towards your house or something. And again, I'm, like, freaking out for a second. In, like, clockwork. They're not in the sky for more than a minute. We see them all, like, blow up into little puffs of white dust. And you see, like, the glass fragments falling out of the sky. Israel had an anti-defense missile mechanism. And that's what they were laughing about. Is they could do that all they want, but we can shoot down as many of those missiles as we please. They shot like 7 of these things down. I'm in the desert watching it like it's a fucking fireworks show.
That's crazy.
And I'll never forget that. But it was one of those moments where I was just like, I can't believe this is real. Oh, it's not real. Like, nothing bad's happening. Like, that, it just gone. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So that freaked me out. I was never going to be touched, but that was one. I told that story to one of my friends the other day. I was like, God, I can't believe I forgot that. That's probably the weirdest situation I've been in as a war zone.
They were like incoming missiles.
They were
that they shot down.
Yeah, they were aiming at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Yeah, Jerusalem.
Wow.
They had a couple flying. I don't remember if it was 7. It was quite a few. I was surprised how many.
That's crazy.
But they fired those missiles. They shot them down. They also did drills in the middle of the night, which was awful. So I would hear gunfire in the middle of the night at my hotel.
Oh, God.
Dude, I shat my pants on a fucking balcony once because they did military marching through the streets. Like, this brigade was marching, and I heard the clacking of guns. And the only time I hear guns is, like, when I'm hunting. So naturally, you're, like, inclined to be like, that's a gun. Where the fuck is it? And it was below me. And I look down, and all the barrels are pointing up. I'm like, fuck.
Holy shit.
Like, reeling back from that shit. I'm like, what the fuck? But I loved Israel. I would go back. Like, I make it sound like I was unsafe. It's not that. I loved it. I think the craziest part was Dead Sea. The driveway to get into the Dead Sea, there's a minefield on both sides.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
But I want to hear yours. What you got one more?
No, yeah. So I was a few years ago, I went to Guatemala for a service trip. And
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. We were in
we got listeners in Guatemala, actually.
Really?
My buddy Luis and his family listens. Shout out to Luis.
Do you know where they're at?
They're in Guatemala City.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, we flew into Guatemala City, then we stayed in Antigua. But we were working with this program called Imagining Guatemala, and this program, they do really great work, but they build houses. So I could plug them all I want, but Imagining Guatemala, they just do great work. But yeah, so we were down there working with them. It was a school trip, one of my old teachers, she is one of the volunteer coordinators in the United States for them. Remember these two guys, Mario and Eddie, super dope dudes. I digress though, but I love that organization. But yeah, so after we got done with the build, which was it took 4 days to complete the house, we went down, we did a little sightseeing, we did the Guatemala thing. One day we went, it was Lake Adelon. So we went there, and just super cool kind of resort town, but not it's not like Cancun. It's just kind of this dumbed down resort kind of vibe. It was really cool, really great place. And we went out. The lake is massive. It is huge. There's mountains all around. It's the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was so sublime. I was like, holy crap! It was incredible. So we went there. We were gonna go cliff diving, right? So we went out there, took a boat out, and we're all cliff diving doing our thing. It's probably 20-ish
dude,
feet
you're
up.
So much braver than me if you're cliff.
It was. Yeah, once I hear this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. So it's cool. So I'm jumping. I'm like, pencil dive, right? Because I'm not trying to die. And then there's these French-Canadian guys.
Oh, no.
And they're doing these flips. They're gymnasts. So they're doing crazy shit. And I'm like, that's dope. And one of the girls in my class tried to do something and she ate it. But she was fine, right? But look at me. I'm so skinny. I have nothing. So I jumped and I tried to do the swan dive. And I landed flat. It was literally it sounded like that. And from 20 feet up, I didn't sink into the water. I just went and stayed on top. And I was like, damn, that shit hurt. And that hurt like a motherfucker, dude.
Oh my God.
And so I get out. I'm like, oh, I'm tweaking. Yeah. And I started coughing up blood, a ton of blood.
No.
There's a video of me on YouTube, and I cough up blood, and then I swipe my hand on the rock, and there's just blood all over my hand. So I'm like, oof. Not good looks.
What?
So I go over. I'm like, yo, I am messed up. To one of the coordinators, I'm like, I'm coughing up blood. She's like, you probably just bit your lip, whatever. So I go up, and everyone's like, you're fine. Just bit your tongue or whatever. But I'm dying. I can't breathe. I'm having these kind of pseudo back spasms. I'm coughing up blood. I'm holy shit. And I'm in the middle of this small town in Guatemala, not even in the town, in just the middle of this lake, and I think I'm gonna die. So there was 30 minutes where I thought I was just gonna drown in my own blood and just die, because I was sitting up there. You know how people cut off the tops of coconuts and put straws in them and drink them?
Yeah.
This makes sense. So there was this bench and there was a coconut there. So I'm walking. And I sit on this bench and I see all my friends playing in the middle of they swam out in the lake. They're all having fun. And I'm up here and I'm I started talking to this coconut. It sounds so sad. Sorry, I just got really loud. I adjusted my mic.
No, you're fine, dude, don't worry. So you had a Wilson moment, Castaway?
Yes, literally. I had a Wilson moment. So I'm up there. My friends are having fun. I think I'm going to die. And I'm just talking to this coconut next to me. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make this, man. I feel so bad. I was praying to God. I was like, Lord, you have to help my body heal. And I was so messed up. I had back spasms. My whole back was bruised. And I was in the middle of fucking Lake Adelon. Oh, it was horrifying. So fast forward 3 months. First cross country meet of my senior year. I cough up all this old grossness. I'm like, what is that? It was all this old blood. I was like, maybe it's from Guatemala. So I get it checked out. X-ray. They call me. They're like, yo, so I get the X-ray. And then there's next day, 4 p.m. I remember I was sitting downstairs playing my Xbox. My mom was like, yo, I need to pick you up. Get ready. There's a mass in your chest. We need to go to the ER. So I think cancer. You think mass in your chest. Fuck, I have cancer. It was horrifying. So then we go to the ER, CAT scan, MRI. They have no idea what this thing is inside me, right? So basically, a few months later, I get an operation. They cut my side open. They take something out. I have 3 little incisions. It was super cool. But they took this thing out, right? And so once they figured out what it was this thing. So basically what happened, I tore my lung open when I fell. It was less than a centimeter away from my aorta. So if it had been an extra foot up, I would have torn my aorta open. I would have bled out inside, and I would have choked on my own blood. So I tore my lung open, and it grew this thing. It was something called a granulosum, and it grew on it. And it was just kind of messing with my lungs. So when I was racing, I was having trouble breathing. That might have been part of it. So they deflated my lung, cut it out, and it was fine. But it was crazy because this doctor's like, yeah, if that was a few feet higher, you would have just busted your aorta and you would have just pretty much destroyed your heart. Yeah. So it was horrifying in the moment, but I look back on it, I was like, that is absolutely terrifying.
That's, oh my God.
Like, I was like a foot away from dying in the middle of Guatemala. It was the scariest moment of my life. It was freaky. I know I said that about the other thing, but this was horrifying.
I'm happy you saved this one for last.
Me too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Finger too. It's like you're showing me like finger checks now.
It was,
That's amazing.
yeah.
In the worst way possible.
No, it is. And like, I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking hard ass. Like, I did that shit. But I'm like, no, dude, that, like, when I see people go and like dive, I'm like, no, absolutely not. I just, yeah. But that's it. I almost died in Guatemala one time, which is a pretty cool story to be able to have with come from it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude.
That's going to stick with me for a while.
It freaked me out. I'll show you the video after we get done with this thing, but
to be honest with you, I think we should call it there. I don't think we can top that.
We leave that with a Guatemala story.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah. I'll tell my mom to listen to this one so she remembers it. I love you, Mom. Shout out Marnie Teagle.
Don't worry. It's good. Oh,
made it in one piece.
Just bringing back the horrors today.
Right? But hey, we're here now. We're together. We're having fruitful discussion. We're on the podcast.
Oh,
we're out here.
We're moving.
I love it. Yeah, no, I think it's cool. You covered a lot of ground. We went from me spilling like this idea of Sisyphus and social media to out here like talking about Guatemala and Israel and almost dying. That's awesome.
That's
good stuff.
That's what this is.
I love it.
They slowly are climbing. I'm trying to get better, but I like having just a podcast where I can bring people on, learn something, and then kind of hang out, and you'd be surprised what comes out of it.
Definitely. So, absolutely. That's facts. Yeah. Everyone's got a story to tell. We just got to listen.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll bring this thing home because I'm definitely going to have you. If you're willing to come back, I'm sure I'll have you back on.
I'd love to be back on. It's always a pleasure. I love it. So yeah, hit
absolutely.
Me up always. Well, Nate Dogg Part 10 coming at you soon. We're gonna be on a lot.
I told him like before this whole thing began, if you ever have a rant, just come on the BGP, and you're like, you'll be fine. Like, people with rants are welcome here anytime.
Yeah, that's why it's nice. It's kind of like a brain spill. Like the whole thing, like when you're talking about social media, made no sense, right? But then you take it back in, you pick it apart, and like you pick apart the rant, and it makes sense in the end. So that's why I think it's a cool thing about these podcasts. It's not just like, oh, like Kanye West we were talking about. It's not just like, oh, you said this. You actually have a chance to spill your guts, spill your thoughts. Then be like, let's pick it apart. And I think that's a really cool part of how you have this thing set up. So
yeah, it's weird because it's like it's stepping back from your time and just being like collect all those moments, kind of put them into 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and just see what you've actually learned by, this sounds kind of cliche, but just by living a little bit every day and see what you pick up, have a conversation with somebody and see what you learn. And it's kind of a beautiful moment. And it's been nice because I have great friends that have supported me, but at the same time, you got to be willing to, well, here's the beautiful thing about friends. You can do absolutely nothing and have a great time. And it's unfortunately not always the best thing for a podcast, but I've had some great friends come on and talk to me about some really interesting stuff. So if you've got anything or if your buddy's got anything, bring them on. I'm happy to hear from them.
Oh, yeah, always. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. But with that, if you want to get in contact with the show for our listeners, feel free to reach out to us at the Instagram or the Twitter page at the Ben Griffin Podcast. Otherwise, we've been getting videos lately. I can't believe I'm getting videos. That's pretty cool.
That's wild.
If you've got those, send them to bengriffinpodcast@gmail.com. We always are happy to hear from you. Thank you to all those people who have reached out over the past couple weeks here, man. We've gotten quite a few messages. I've been surprised. So it's kind of bringing a smile to my face to be able to interact with you guys and know that we're doing something pretty cool here. So with that, thank you guys so much for listening. Nate, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right, guys. Have a good one. See you later.